Good evening, everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin, and welcome to my channel. It's called McDuff Lives here on YouTube. McDuff Lives 3, McDuff Lives 1, and just McDuff on Facebook. And welcome wherever you are. Thanks for being with me. And I'm very happy to bring back tonight a group of women called Protecting the Nest. We had our first session about a month ago, and everybody enjoyed it a lot, and I think I learned a lot. So we're going to try and push forward tonight with some new ideas and new questions for the women. Let me introduce them to you. Uh, on my right is Tara Starr. Hello, Tara.
Hey, John, and hey, Osprey Nation. I miss everybody, and happy summer.
And next in line, hello, down in Atlanta, Georgia, Amber Connor. Hello, Amber.
Hello. How's everybody tonight? I hope you're relaxing and getting ready to hear a good conversation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And finally, Carol M. Hello, Carol.
Hi, John. I'm remembering it was just June a year ago that we were back at Mystery Island, and there were ospreys, and it was quite lovely. It was your wonderful celebration.
Well, it was awful good to have you all here, and we're going to have you back down here sometime soon, I hope. Anyway, thanks for joining me tonight. Well, Tara asked me before the show what I wanted to talk about, and usually I want to hear what's on you guys' minds. I'd kind of like to just update myself as to the work that my guests have been doing, because I can't keep up with your shows. I know you are working as a trio and doing lots of good stuff, so I want to get updated from that. But I also had a fairly serious question I wanted to toss out. So before I do that, let's just go around and update what you guys think are the big stories, or what you've been working on to share with everybody tonight. And let's go ahead and start in the same order with Tara Starr.
All right. Yeah, it's funny because whenever we wind up getting together and talking, it always is a similar thing that we have on our minds. Obviously, there's stuff, the theater goes on in front of us every day, so we kind of have the same cues anyway. Obviously, there's a lot of women's issues going on, so I think that certainly not only women's issues, I always want to say that, but just we try to come to represent that angle anyways. And yeah, I'm ready to talk about whatever's on your guys' mind.
All right. And Amber, how about yourself?
Yes, I would say the thing that's been on my mind the most has been how everyone that's declared that they've been a victim of society, or they need society to accept them, have now overexploited what they first asked for. And not only did they overexploit, they actually became the monster that they said they were fighting. And I think it's really important that when we ask for specific things from those around us in our community, we don't, when we're given an inch, we don't automatically take a mile while we're screaming victimhood. We're appreciative, and we show that we're responsible enough to handle that acceptance. And I know that seems so unfair that we as people have to look for acceptance in a group, but it's a group dynamic. That's a human behavior. It's natural. It is part of sociology. It's how we communicate as human beings. And I think that there's been subgroups that for a long time have claimed to be victimized. And now when they feel powerful, they victimize others. And I think that has now debilitated all their power. And if they don't watch out, the 10 steps forward they've made will take them 20 steps back. So I'm actually working with people and discussing with people who've been part of these, victim groups, and telling them that this is detrimental if they do not stand up to the very radical sides of their groups that are causing people who would have otherwise accepted them to be repulsed. And, we always have to mind our manners when we come to the table. We can't slop around, throw the food everywhere, and tell everybody the food is gross. We actually have to participate, and we have to be wise and responsible. And I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing a bunch of disrespectful, unappreciative people that declare victimhood as they are victimizing. And it's totally unacceptable. And it's time for them to stand up and do the right thing or deal with the consequences.
That's rather striking to me. Sounds just like what Tara and I were talking about before the show. So now let's hear what Carol has on her mind tonight.
Well, I've been sort of thinking more of a continuation of what I was talking about last month, actually. And since then, we've had this charrette. And one of the things that came out of it that was really exciting for me was I'm going to work with Corky Goss, who we all know and love, on helping present his ideas that he's been studying for all this time. And I think I met him a year ago, and we talked about this then. And it's really a solution for the problem of scarcity to abundance, actually. So that's why it's so exciting, because we need to talk about solutions as much as we need to dissolve what's going on and have that be part of what we're all working on. We just don't want to end everything without at least thinking about that. So what he's talking about is really a whole new paradigm for matter and science, and particularly energy. And I think that's one of the things we've seen from George. There's just all this subversion of energy, really, into all the stuff going on with the pipelines and the stealing and the uranium and now the diesel. And it's just been a problem that's been used to, control us for a long, long time. And what Corky's talking about is very, very exciting, because it's, instead of having energy as a scarcity, it's a coalition of scientists who've really found a way to develop Tesla's ideas that energy is abundant, is everywhere. And they've made several different kinds of reactors that cost, some of them less than $40, that can create all of the elements in the periodic table. And these are scientists. They're measuring things. They're really doing it. And they can also create light that radiates from a series of coils, and then you take the electricity away and the light stays, and you take the coil away and the light still stays. So it's a different way of thinking about energy. Totally, it's not E equals mc squared anymore. So this excites me a lot, and I'm really excited to announce that Corky has been working on this, and we're going to talk about it. So that's what's on one of the things on my mind. But certainly all the stuff you guys are talking about is also on my mind. And it's the sexualization of children, and it's the elimination of procreation. I mean, there's all kinds of things that have to do with what we're seeing in the dialogue that are all disturbing directions that are worth talking about. Well, that's what's on.
I appreciate your update, and congratulations on your project with Corky Goss. Corky's a real science head, and so are you. And matter of fact, I tried to talk science with you one time, and I found myself over my head within the first 2 minutes. So I can't. And I tried to major in physics, and I still have
John. That's what's so funny.
My old notebooks, from when I was in college, mm-hmm. And I have these notes in there, and I was no way in the world I could tell you what those notes mean. I have like these Greek letters with these little spins on them and little, squiggles, and and then every once in a while there'd be one of those doggone integral signs, and those things will really blow your mind if you don't know much about math. So you guys carry on and solve the problems of the world, and give us some free energy. I'm all for it, and the sooner the better, because it's the scarcity model. If they don't have the scarcity model, then they can't squeeze us. It's as
Exactly.
simple as that. So if we make energy, no longer valuable, then they lose, and that's why what you guys are doing is in a way it's a little bit dangerous. So
Well, it's more than a little bit dangerous.
under your hats,
Yeah.
Yeah, don't
I
tell
would-
them you've solved the energy crisis until you've got a nice firm financial backing and some knuckle draggers to.
Yeah. Well, that is the
protect.
problem, because if it does get solved, that changes the whole money relationship too, and so
Yes.
that's gigantic.
Yeah, and to speak to Carol's scarcity, it just reminds me of if for those of you out there that read your Bible and you say you have faith, you should never fall for the scarcity model, especially if you remember how Jesus multiplied the fish and the bread and said, "Ye have little faith." And I think the moral of that story was, if you worry about scarcity and there's not enough, you'll always fall for believing that there's not enough out there. It takes away your creativity. It takes away your motivation, or it causes you to do the opposite. Run and grab as much as you can, hoard, and fear. And none of that is something that people who claim religion should be doing. So that should take those folks right out of the scarcity model. And then we're left with those who are either ambiguous or they believe in God in a different manner or in a different way. And with those, I would just like to say, if we are what we eat and we are what we believe, then we should never put things out there that limits us and causes limitations, because then we give someone the power to hold that limit over us. And we should really think about where we're being led when we're told there's not enough. There's always enough, especially if you make a garden and then you take out all the seeds, you can share them with everybody in your neighborhood, and then they share the seeds, and then they share the seeds. There's plenty of seeds. Every fruit, every vegetable, they have enough seeds to go around. And, that's just a small portion of what all we're looking at. And we need to keep those things in the back of our mind, because fear is very strong and it makes our mind stop working. And so I think it's brilliant that you and Corky are going to be talking about the scarcity versus non-scarcity issue. And I think that if it's put in a way to those who claim religion and they're reminded about the faith that they're supposed to have, they should be taken out of that equation, and it just leaves the rest who need to be convinced. And I think that's pretty easy to do. They just have to understand what they're dealing with, because they're more of a scientific base, and that can be proven scientifically. So I think you guys have your feet on a solid road there.
Yeah, because metaphysics pretty much is that. It's where spirituality and matter join, have like a sacred marriage, So those things that, just like even down to a quantum, which I can't compete with you on that level either, but Carol, but just, how everything goes down to that quantum level of like, it is a wave, and what's the other one?
A particle.
A particle. It is a wave and it is a particle. Like, it's both at the same time. So we are spirit and we are matter. It's not like one or the other. It's like one, both. We have to be. So I feel like that is super positive. I love Corky. He is so awesome, so creative. I love that I got to see that picture that he drew of George and the whole scene, and just very, very creative minded person. And so are you. So that's going to be a great endeavor.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think when you're thinking small, you have to remember that between 1 and 0 is infinity of smallness, goes all the way down. And between 1 and infinity on the other side is the same amount of infinity. That's what's so wonderful about that. It is this.
It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's so many wonderful things, and people make us fear something that's absolutely beautiful. What you don't want is to get locked into a definite. A definite means you're trapped. You can't get out. Here's your definite border. Here's your definite mind frame. And that works for don't let your kids run in the middle of the road. They could get hit. That works for some things, but it doesn't work for an overall existence, which is why, Jesus said with faith, you can move mountains. And we've seen people with no faith do wondrous things. And we just have to remain positive. And we have to understand that the minute we feel fear, it's okay. Feel that fear, like feel it fully, and then breathe and then think really deeply. Were you really brought on this earth to be in a corner, afraid and worried, or were you here to kill your own beasts? And I think in times like this, instead of looking like we're defeating the world, we need to take it on as we grow with each time we're introduced to fear and we're killing our beasts, whether that be gluttony, slothfulness, fear, anxiety, anger. And every time we're approached with something like this, if we stay steadfast and consistent, that's what is more difficult for those who are trying to destroy humanity or control it as if they are God, which is unacceptable because they didn't create anything. And in fact, they spend more time destroying things than they do creating things. And when they talk of scarcity, they're talking about not being able to create more things. So, how arrogant is it to pretend to be God as you're saying that you're not capable of doing really what the creator of the universe is able to do? So they're talking out of both sides of their mouth, and they actually have no ground to stand on.
Yeah, I think fear creates a blockage, and just like all of the myocarditis and the blood clots, when you have accumulation, be it money or energy or whatever, that's just accumulating, it's stopping the flow, so that's it's understanding all of those processes as really needing to keep moving, and that's what we're in motion. That's kind of part of what we're looking at, that everything's making and unmaking at the same time, and including us. So we just sort of tap into it. But it will be a transition. I mean, these reactors that they're building are tiny and cheap, but they're very profound in bringing science together with the infinity of spirituality. Really, it's just all incredibly beautiful. So I'm excited about that.
What's funny, Carol, is this last weekend I was at a wedding, and I haven't danced in forever. I've just been momming, I've been doing mommy stuff. I'm saying I just haven't got out on the dance floor and cut a rug. Well, I was in heels. The very next day I woke up, there were parts of my body that were so sore. And it made me think, that's what happens to us when we get locked into a certain behavior or a certain mindset. And so it's not going to feel good to jump out of that. And it's not going to feel good to tackle your beast and kill your beast. So it's like a physical representation of what we need to mentally go through. And every time I have to walk up and down my stairs, my calves hurt, my thighs hurt. And that just told me you need to dance more. It's not you need to stop dancing. You need to do it more. So as we're really digging into ourselves and killing our own beasts so that we can tackle the world in a positive way and in a good way, it's going to hurt, but that's good. And it builds endurance. And then every time we do it, it'll hurt less and less. And then we'll become better and better at it.
May I jump in and just add a quote from the famous Emma Goldman? And you know who Emma Goldman was a very militant civil rights leader from the early 20th century, communist and very aggressive. And but one of the things that we used to get, when I was in college, was T-shirts that had Emma Goldman on them, and it said, "If I can't dance, I don't want to be part of your revolution." And I think about those T-shirts nowadays with all of the people that probably would have worn them in when I was in college, but most of those folks are now like no, I'm not going to go dancing, man. I'm scared. I'm going to stay home and, watch my computer and wear my mask, and, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not going to go dancing. And honestly, that is a huge attack upon our culture, to take away our right to dance. And it all is all part of their theory that this, whatever it is, became aerosolized in the sense that we can breathe it into each other, which is something that, well, I don't want to get a strike tonight, but that's my position. Is I think that it's all been they used it to separate us and to take away from us some of the most basic parts of our culture and our basic humanity. And I love to dance, and I played in dance bands for 30 years, and going to dancing and was something I did every Friday night for at least 20 years. So it's a great loss to realize that that's gone. All my bands broke up with COVID. Nobody, no gigs, no dances, nothing. So that's what they did, and now everybody's, they get their music. You always get this push from Google or from Facebook, or somebody says, get your music here. Get all the great music and sign up for this music service, and you'll never run out of music. And that's not music. That's computers, making up.
Right. I noticed someone in the chat put some people take their shoes off to dance. Oh, don't get me wrong. I had my heels on, and once I realized, wow, this hurts, I took my shoes off. So I was on the dance floor half the time without my shoes. But yeah, you make adjustments when you're dancing until you can really dance, no matter what you have on.
Yeah, it brings us joy, and joy is exactly what you need to dissipate fear. It's the opposite of fear, and in terms of brain chemicals, that's how you conjure up dopamine, is by feeling joyous. And so, you're right, John. Too. It's being closed away from people and hugs and all that has really limited our humanity in a sad way. We need to get it back right now.
Well, that kind of is a good way to lead into my big question, or my kind of heavy question for you guys tonight. And I guess it has to do with what's really been in my face lately, and it's on Twitter, which I'm a Twitterer, and so that's where I see it. But I'm sure it's everywhere, and that is this explosion of gay pride parades, which are billed as family events, but in which during the parade there will be some really over the top, like a naked man jumping around with a silly mask on, so kind of the kind of thing that feels creepy, because that the kids probably are attracted to it in some way, because there's this mask and the guy's being all kinetic and it was all around and everything. But then what he's doing is he's selling the idea of open sexuality to children right in front of our faces. And to me, this is just, one of you, I think, Carol, you mentioned it too, is one of the next thing that was on your mind after is the sexualization of children. Not only the sexualization of them, but the pressure on them to pick some type of sexuality, which one, here's a dozen types of sexual approach that you need to know about, and all of them are fine. Just pick one, and we'll if you need, we'll arrange, to go see Dr. Feelgood, and he'll, give you the proper treatment, and you'll turn out being one of them. That's what you want to be, so we'll give it to you. And if you're 8 years old and somebody says, do you want to look like a unicorn for the rest of your life, you might say, sure, that sounds like great fun. But then you turn into a unicorn and you got this thing sticking out of your head, and how do you get a job with that? Well, you get a fake one that you can take off, for goodness sakes. and I don't have any problem with fake ones, but putting real ones on there when you're 8 years old.
Well, the little person that wears that is younger than that, and she does. She likes to pretend she's a unicorn, you know. So what?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just using that as an example. I think that this is what do they call it? Grooming, and it's right in our face. And I don't know how to stop it. What really freaks me out is that it's part of the gay culture, which I think is worth celebrating. I think, you know, the people who have been oppressed, and, you know, for generations, for lifetimes, you know, unable to participate in society. You couldn't be in the military. You know, just hazing, murder, torture, all the horrible things that have happened to people just because of their sexual orientation. And I think they can rightly be proud for having come out and said, you know, no, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm going to be myself, and bravo to you. But
yeah,
at what point do you have a responsibility to say, hey, you know, I am also a responsible adult in a society in which we have moral values. And just because when I'm in my bedroom I can do whatever I want to, doesn't mean that when I'm marching down the street in front of school children that I can do the same thing. All right, that's my topic. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm ready to go to town on this topic. I'm furious. I'm livid. And as someone who was molested as a child, I think, how dare adults put it out there like it's just normal to be naked. It's normal to do kink in front of children. It's normal to talk about anal sex. That is not normal. And anyway, for kids that they're trying to reach, those kids don't even talk about heterosexual sex. Like, there is no sex talk at that age. And in fact, a lot of the kids they're trying to reach haven't even experimented, which is what we know children do. Around the age of 13, 14, 15. This is a normal thing that's gone on for ages. Every type of person has had those moments with friends where they either talked and you know, they were figuring out who they were as a person. But to go after children between the ages of, you know, 0 right now to 14 and cram it down their throat and expect for us to clap when we've made sure that they don't watch PG-13 movies at the age of 10. I mean, we're doing our job. And in fact, for the last 15 years, we've been warned by everybody in society, parents aren't watching their kids, and their kids are getting caught up in porn on the internet, and their kids are getting caught up with being groomed online, and you have to do your due diligence as a parent, and please report what you see. And now the government and everyone stands by like, you know, naked men dancing all over the street is just normal, and talking about kink and sadomasochism and walking a man with leather on like he's a dog and talking about furries is normal. Give me a break. Give me a break. Stand up and stop your people, or we'll do it for you. I'm done.
We all have gay friends, all of us, that have always been opposed to things like the Man-Boy Love Association and abusing children. But one of the things that's kind of sneaking in too that is very distressing to me is that the age of majority is just going down and down and down. And that means that kids have no protection against stuff like this if they are groomed and end up, you know, whatever, Ghislaine Maxwell or whatever kind of thing can befall of them that is horrific. They lose the protection of the law as the age of majority goes down, down, and down when they are still children.
The age of consent?
Yeah. Well, it's the age of majority and not just the age of consent. I think once you get, you know, some states have different ages of majority, and that at that point you're considered an adult no matter what, even if you're 14 or 16. You know, it just used to be 21 in most places, and
I mean, I got into an argument with a friend who, when I said, "Hey, you need to push back on the radical, people in your community." He was like, "Well, you need to push back." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, parents take their kids to Hooters." And I said, "Well, I'm mad at them too. I don't approve of that. And I'm very vocal about that." So now that there's a parent or two that do that, now I'm supposed to ignore like thousands of people pushing it through schools. And like those parents aren't pushing that on my children. My children don't go to school and learn about Hooters. What are you comparing here? Like, don't step to me when I'm taking care of two children and then cop an attitude with me. I'm a mother and I'm giving you a warning. I'm letting you know that everything that you guys have worked hard for is not going to go the way you think it is when you're pushing almost pornographic behavior on our children. You need to cease and desist. And he was like, "Well, I understand your anger, but you need to do something about the heterosexual community." And I said, "No, you just need to be the example that you're demanding that the heterosexual community should be. You're doubling down and doing worse than you say that they're doing, and you're wanting to make a comparison here. That's unacceptable." And there are people in the gay community. The Log Cabin Republicans are pushing back. That's the gay Republicans. They're pushing back. The moderates, the independent gay community, the older gay community that had to do the marches, and all they wanted was civil unions, and then they wanted to ask for marriage, and then after that, they even thought the cake baking issue was not something that they wanted to push, and they saw that it was just causing people to hate them more, and they were worried about it, and now they're livid, and they don't know where these radical people are, because when they go to some of these events, they don't know who's telling the administration and those in charge, we have to have this very thing. We have to have Mr. Potato Head switched out. So there is some shenanigans going on in the background, but they need to stand up and stop the shenanigans, and they're not. They're quiet, and I don't like that.
And nobody, gayness, like, since when did that ever equal an oversexed, like, perverted, over the top, like, going after kids stuff? It's like, that's not what being gay, whatever you want to call that, is, and to act like it is, or for the person you're talking to, Amber, to not recognize that these extremists, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. If you're extreme and weird, you can use whatever format to, like John was saying, a mask or whatever. And it's like, to me personally, in this life, I've always really appreciated the freedom of expression, whether that be wanting to wear whatever you want, wanting to be who you are, just even the idea of being naked, you know what I mean? It's always just been like, kids are innocent, it doesn't matter. But it's like, again, this is where it's like very nuanced, right? Because it's like there's just things that are like, they have this creepy vibe to it, and so it's like you really have to have a stink eye of a different kind. And when it comes to these gay parades and this celebration, I meant, of course, there's a bunch of good, decent people that are out there at these events, and they just don't. It's like an over tolerance problem. You know what I mean? Like, you don't recognize that these are toxic people mixed in here. It's like the same thing as, like, you want to bring your kids to the bar or whatever to, like, talk to some people following, it's just, that's just maybe a minor example. But, one of the things that I want to mention too is that we're even tricked into thinking that there is a gay community or any of these communities. And these are things that have been on my mind lately. To me, everything's like canceled out. There's like no such thing as gay people, no such thing as black people, no such thing as women, no such thing, not as a community anyways, If you're a women's group or a woman as an individual, fine. But it's like, what's this community stuff? It's like, are you guys like the men's community or the women's community of the world? That's not even a thing.
That's classic formation of that's the whole system is to divide us into different groups, and like you're saying, exactly, which I I have to take this opportunity to just the benefit of my research and my work is giving me a pretty firm opinion as to where this comes from. And it comes from the British Fabian Society. That is the driving force behind a lot of this really satanic stuff that's going on. And what they seem to be doing is they want war. Okay, their vision of the future doesn't happen until after the next big war. So they're trying really hard to create this war. And one of the things that they are doing is aggravating people. Now, remember Abu Ghraib? Remember Abu Ghraib, those horrible photographs that came out from and we had this this woman general that was, what was her, Karpinski or somebody that got stuck with it, but it was a intentional provocation of the Muslim world to show American soldiers, Lindy England, I remember her name, and Sergeant somebody that were forcing these Iraqi prisoners to form a human triangle, like a pyramid, right? And it naked, and just in sexual positions. And then they had this other famous picture of this guy that was standing on a upside down water bucket with wires attached to his hands and his feet. And he was he was going to get electrocuted or electroshocked. This is us doing that. And then we put it in your face. And that's what I'm seeing with these gay parade things. I think they're saying, you know what? We are now going to make your ordinary red-blooded American really, really angry. And I am getting angry. And Carol and Amber and Tara, we're all angry at this outrageous stuff. And all I can say is it's part of what I see as a huge pattern that's come over us ever since the whatever you want to say, 1884, when they started the Fabian Society. But these people are trying to foment war all around the world to create that chaos. And so now we have this mess in Ukraine. And what else do we know about Ukraine? That they exploit women there. That there's a lot of human trafficking. There's, and then the drugs and the money laundering. I mean, it is a place that is taking the lead in the agenda of trying to get us to World War III. So all of these things that are used, they don't care about our society. They don't care about, that I used to like to go dancing on Friday nights. They don't care about, whether we'll have, traditional fiddle music in the next century. They don't care about anything beautiful, cultural, intellectual, poetic. All they care about is moving along their agenda. And so I see them doing this horrible agenda of sexualizing our children. The other aspect of it is, of course, that there is a very strong homosexual pederast aspect to it. You just have to look into the Milner kindergarten. That's Milner, Alfred Milner, and you'll see that these people would go to Africa and then just get a bunch of boys and take advantage of them, and just awful stuff. And they think it's okay. For some reason, they think it's okay. It is not a Christian viewpoint of the world. I guarantee you that. And so we have to. This is why I'm trying to use what energy we have here to say, yes, there are people behind this. Yes, they are the oldest, elitist, most powerful people in the world. And yes, they are probably so insane with this stuff that there's nothing we can do to change their minds. So we're going to have to stand up to them. And that's what I think, my feeling is. And I think you probably agree with me. So back to you guys.
Yes,
Well-
I totally agree. And I'm frustrated because as we carry on, it seems like with the algorithm that's on social media, it's actually causing this radical group to only see a more wholesome nature in which they're presenting the gay community, whereas to other people outside of the algorithm that are frustrated with what's going on, we see the most heinous things going on.
Mm-hmm.
So when you confront a large portion of them, they're saying there were no naked people at the Pride Parade. There is no kink there. And then when you show them, they're like, where was that? That wasn't even a normal parade. And that must have been blah, 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 because they're not being fed the same information. So it's hard to get them to step up and to do something about it and to stand against it when they don't even get that algorithm. And that's what we're dealing with as well.
Good point.
Well, the program is to dehumanize humanity, and it's from both sides. I think. I mean, we're seeing that as a dehumanization, and the other side is saying, okay, you're racist, you're elitist, or whatever. There's dehumanizing on both sides. And I don't know if any of you read our friend Yuval Harari's book on *Sapiens*.
I saw him. I've watched it. I watched him, and I did a show on him, and I've had enough of him. Believe me.
Yeah, but that's dehumanizing humans and saying humans are greedy and humans are, and I find my friends that are soaking that up. Humans aren't worthy. Humans are horrible beings, and this is all feeding that. And I think it's getting ready for transhumanism. It's that's what we're being groomed for.
And one other thought on top of what I said before is that the history of these people like H.G. Wells, they can't stand traditional motherhood. They think they can do it much better. They think most of the problems in the world were caused by these goofy mothers that don't know what they're doing and put all these crazy ideas in kids' heads, and they're not scientific, for goodness sakes. So the idea of scientifically raising children, test tube babies and the whole thing, that comes from the same source, the same thing, and that's all part of it.
These guys have these guys have mommy issues, and we need to call it like we see it. Most people, they appreciate the fact that their mother gave birth to them. They appreciate their mother making sure they make it to age 18 before they leave the house by keeping them alive, keeping them fed, and keeping them loved. And it's only those who didn't have that good relationship with their mother that then take it out on the whole world. You need to take that up with your mother. You need to back off getting mad at all mothers, because there's some pretty awesome mothers out there. And how dare any man try to step over a woman and tell a woman he knows more about her motherhood. Step to me, and we'll see if you know anything about motherhood. And we'll see if you can take me on, because I doubt he can.
Exactly. But they get away with it. And this is, well, I'm just throwing it out there. I think, that's what we have to do, is raise consciousness.
Yeah, well, you know what? One of the things that we have to do is we have to recognize the different forms of grooming, okay? Because it doesn't come in one, traditional seen on afternoon TV special way. This is very, like John you talk about these particular methods, that are kind of put on there. And I was thinking about today, and one thing that I won't go into fully, but I made another jump to this thought I've had. Well, actually, no, it was weird, because just one of my spirit guides or whatever typed in, I was on YouTube and typed in like QQ, like 111 QQQ.2 or something, right? And all this stuff came up that I recognized as weird little early development creepy stuff, right? And I screenshot it, so I'll show you guys later. And then it was mixed in with weird dark web stuff, talking about dark web. And so this is literally learning primary colors. So I'm not going to go into it, but it's something that in the past I've researched on my, in my ways. And so it's like something about learning colors, finger family, the bathtub, and parents would just see these videos and be like, oh, cute, they're learning colors or something. And like parents, caretakers, you need to really look at what this stuff is. Don't let your kids watch or do stuff without checking what it is, because if you watch some of this stuff, like,
It's perverse.
yeah, you can tell by the images, you can tell by the looks on their face, and it's really geared to start kids at such an early age. And that's one of the things that, Amber, when you're mentioning people with these issues, it's like if they can really get a hold of somebody as young as possible and start planting those seeds and get some kind of fault lines and stuff going, that's what they're going to go back to later and try to cash in on,
Yes.
But as a human spirit, we can overcome these things, and we need that enlightenment awareness.
Tara, I've seen one of those, and one of them, they've got two kids in the bathtub and almost showing parts that they shouldn't, and they're tummy tickle time, and they're not the parents, and they're just making the kids giggle and doing things that is just unnatural that we as parents wouldn't do. You're in the bath, you play with your toys, and then when you're out, if you're too little, I'll help you dry off. Here are your clothes. You train them to learn how to put their clothes on, and then when they're struggling, you help them. You sing a song, put your head through the hole, da da da, and you're really teaching them. And then they get to a point where I do it, and they push you away, and then you're happy because now you don't have to stand around, sweating, trying to get them out of the bathtub. They don't want to get out, and try to get them dressed. And that's what you're doing with your child. So it's unnatural behavior. And I think that's what you were sensing is when you watch how a woman or a dad or a mom would naturally be with their child. That is not what these videos are. It's very creepy and it's subtle. It's very subtle to people who are not, did not experience that behavior with their children. I mean,
Right.
it's absolutely obvious to someone that has experienced that with their children.
Or a lot of us didn't grow up with computers. So it's like, you might be like, oh yeah, I saw something like that. It's like, no, you probably didn't, And so the thing I was going to say too about the colors, I was like, wait, does this translate directly to the gay flag of this primary color stuff? Okay, because I'll just give you a tidbit from my weird mind. Is like previous to 2012, in this Japanese animation scene, there was some weird stuff that I was like, something's kind of weird. And then there was these certain DJs that did these weird primary colors with masks on. This was a while ago, and I was like, these people seem to be from Germany and Japan. I was like, is this a World War II thing? It's just whatever. So now my mind is been panning out a little bit. But it's weird because one of the things I saw today was a Ukrainian thing, Vlad and whatever. And some of these people are their parent or caretaker. And they go in and they do little skits with the kid and pretend oh, this is just something normal. And then something links into the dark web. It gets dark and the people know where to go. Whatever. It's I saw this Microsoft, sorry, I'm just going to add this. I saw this Microsoft ad the other day that was oh, the guy, if you want to shop without third parties, then Microsoft is the place to shop. And this guy, he had to stop doing the boxes because he opened up Tabasco sauce, and he had to dump the Tabasco sauce and take a bath in it and then dip pizza and eat it. And so you're oh, Microsoft, and so I don't necessarily have to say my interpretation of that, but just saying oh, Microsoft, is that the latest place to go shopping? Okay. I don't know.
They're doing very strange things. And what she's saying is they link to another thing. So once you watch that video, if you just have your YouTube open and you don't have it playing your favorites or watch these videos later, it will take you down a rabbit hole that it progressively gets more perverse.
Wow.
So it links it to another. And if you don't watch it when your child sees this one thing that starts off very G-rated, it seems like it's not a big deal. The very next one is a little bit more creepy, and it just keeps it creeps and creeps and creeps. And so it'll link you to the next one, if you just let it play. So it's very dangerous to put your child in a room and then start it off with them watching a Frozen character with a lady my age dressed up as Frozen walking around and Spider-Man coming in. Because it starts off with that and they're saying weird jokes and saying, oh, we should get married. And then the next one's a little bit crazier, and then it gets crazier and crazier. And then by the time you see what's going on, you're like, oh, don't watch this. But your child has watched like 40 little short clips of perverse videos.
I don't trust that Frozen line. That whole
Let
thing.
it go.
When that
Let it
was
go, John.
when that was going on, man, I was like, oh no, this is the Illuminati under the ice cap, down in Antarctica, laughing at us, saying we're coming, All right, Carol.
Well, there's also the ads that I've been noticing that just kind of are all flat colors and the people hardly have faces, that they're like Lego things. And I see it in grocery ads and billboards. I know Kroger's. I saw it in the Midwest, and that's all around where I am too. And that's kind of the opposite end, where it's just kind of removing any sex or, I mean, even, men or women or facial expressions or creativity or anything human is missing.
Yeah.
And
The mannequins nowadays don't even have noses,
Yeah, right. They're just,
Cyborgs.
Well,
Exactly. That's
We're
what they are.
we're dealing with demented, sad people that within themselves, they're looking for an escape outside of themselves because they have issues with themselves. And we shouldn't be captured up with their unhappiness, with their body, with what they've been given and how they were created. That's their own, issue that they need to work through, and not use loads of money to try to take us down a rabbit hole where they think they'll find happiness. Where if you're just miserable and you were created to be who you are and you're miserable from that, there is no escape from that. You can't find something better. You're always going to be miserable until you fix the root cause of your misery. And they're just looking for other ways to disguise and not dig into that root cause that's making them severely unhappy and making them torture a lot of us on earth in trying to just deal with their temper tantrums, which is exactly how I feel. It's like I'm dealing with a bunch of grown toddlers that have demanded that it's going to go my way or the highway. And it's embarrassing and it's sick.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks for standing up.
I just want to add real quick, when it comes to these creepy men or whatever, it's like in no way is it only men. It's like we can see from these videos or whatever, a lot of demon housers, whether they're men or women, and they scream in this way that's just, you're like, what we really need to pray for these people. This is a mental illness that and demons that are showing, and it doesn't matter the gender, it doesn't matter, just go by your gut feeling, because so this is not your original, oh, we just want rights, like we were talking about. This is something subversive. It's the latest fad. It's the latest it's the latest kind of satanic subversion thing. But while I have the floor, I just want to say my solution for everybody tonight, because we need those solutions, is to dance and sing. And go check out Norman Smith, because he has some amazing music. This one that I can't even believe I missed, but he did this January 6th one. That's just a great little ditty explanation, and a couple of battle ready stuff. Anyway, so that's my plug.
Oh, that's a great solution. I love that.
All right, there's a Norman Smith plug for you. Escapism on steroids. Okay. And Norman has a great YouTube channel, and it's a great idea. Let's all hop over there and enjoy some Norman Smith music.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, thanks for being with us, everybody. Take care and spread the word, and keep on keeping on. Thanks so much, Tara.
Thank you, John.
Amber.
Thank you, John.
Great show. Thanks very much. Good night,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye, Carol. Bye, Amber. Bye, John. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks,